Hi guys, it's Mango and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I have something very special. I found a recently re-uploaded interview from Johnny Depp in 1997 when he was at the Cannes Film Festival to promote his movie The Brave. I haven't watched the interview yet, but I watched a few parts and I have to say it is definitely one of the most interesting interviews I have seen of Johnny. So I'm very excited to watch it with you guys. So let's get started.
And there's a question here. Who has the mic? Go ahead.
I hope that Red Crow's positive vibes pass on to your movie as they did with Dances with Wolves. And my question is, what is it about the role of Raphael that drew you so much to him? Was it your heritage or maybe something else? And also, why then did you insist on being the director of the movie?
I have absolutely no idea why I wanted to direct the film, but I somehow felt driven to do it, you know. As for Raphael and the material, it was a lot of different things that drew me to it. In a strange way, I felt it paralleled what happened to the American Indians 100 or more years ago, you know. Only in a sort of modern way, a modern adaptation.
That was probably the shortest response I've ever heard Johnny give to a question, but he was so accurate. He nailed it. He did an amazing job directing the movie, so I'm really glad that he decided to do it. I do remember in another interview where he said that he would never direct and star in a movie again because it was very tiring and he preferred to focus on one aspect of filmmaking rather than spend time doing both, which is probably why in his second movie that he has directed, which will come out soon, is called Modi. If you want to know more about it, I made a video about everything you need to know and I'll leave the link below. I love that the movie did portray a modern version of what the Native Americans went through, and he put it on the big screen in a very beautiful and artistic way that will open up people's eyes and introduce them to the Native American history in a very subtle way. And also for those who don't know, Johnny Depp does have Native American ancestry. If I'm not wrong, I believe it is his great-great-great-grandparents. So he does have Native American blood, and I think that is also a big reason why he wanted to direct the movie and star in it.
Question here.
Hi, Bazby. Very well, thanks. They're laughing at a little joke that happened yesterday. Someone couldn't see me, it was too dark.
Move on, Baz.
Do you think this so-called fabled American dream is now out of reach for many people in your country? You know, there's the scene of him on the bus and he's passing those houses. You know, this is a dream. Do you think it's out of reach for people in America now, for certain stratas of class?
I think it's out of reach for a lot of people. I think it's out of reach for more people than we could ever imagine. America, you know, has a tendency to be a very, very, very gluttonous society, and it's all about winning, and it's all about result. It's we've been programmed for many years to turn the other, you know, just to keep a blind eye and not look at what we think of as ugly. I think there's a lot of people, which was a real eye opener to me on some of the location scouts. A lot of people live exactly as these people do. Some of the conditions are much worse. So the American dream, I don't know if it exists at all. I don't think it exists at all. I think it's propaganda, you know.
Was it a side of America that you were not particularly aware of?
No, I was aware of it, but when you step into one of those villages and you see the way these people live, and you see parents of children who feel failures, they feel they've failed, and you see these little kids running around playing with you know, a bent piece of wood, and that's their toy, and they're as happy as can be. But the parents are just without. There's no way that they can provide. There's no way. There's nothing they can do. No education, because education is, a proper education is something that is only available to those who can afford it. Yeah, I guess.
Good job from the journalist, because that was a fantastic question to ask Johnny, and especially surrounding the movie as well. And at that point, he was sort of the poster boy for America and Hollywood. It was right after he did some of his biggest movies at the time. Johnny gave one of the best answers I've heard from any actor in the industry when they're asked about the American dream. For me, in my humble opinion, I agree 100% with Johnny. I'm not from the US, but I do have very close friends from there, and I have family that have lived there, and I have quite a good understanding of how it is to live there. The fact that Johnny spoke so raw about what it means to live in the States, or as both an American and a Native American, the struggles that people go through daily, that there is this constant competition of winners and failures, and there is an incredibly huge amount of poverty, and the struggle that many parents face just to provide a good education to their children is really heartbreaking to even think about how much his statement still stands today. There hasn't been that much improvement, and this interview was nearly 28 years ago, this answer from Johnny, because it was not only pure and raw, but he just seemed to have no filter. He wanted to say exactly how he feels about the matter, why he made the movie, how he feels about the way that his own country functions. Because for those who don't know, Johnny came from a working class, low-income family from Kentucky, and he didn't have the easiest upbringing and had to work from a very young age. So I think the idea of American dream does resonate with him a lot, because it's probably an idea that he had growing up and dreams and goals that he wanted to achieve. But witnessing the struggle, what happens behind the scenes, and everything you do have to do to achieve this winning status, and how many people are living in poverty, really shows how humble he is, that he, even though he is, at this time of the interview, he was a rising star. He was this huge name even before he did, Captain Jack, and he could still resonate with his difficult upbringing, and everyone else that's going through something similar. Says a lot for the man and the human that Johnny is, and also how little things have changed since the 90s.
Question here.
Brian Johnson from Maclean's Magazine in Canada. Question for Johnny Depp.
Sure.
I don't know if directing requires more confidence than acting, but I was wondering how secure you felt as a director compared to as an actor, and now that you've finished the film, how secure you feel with the results. Do you feel it's the film that you wanted to make?
And are the two activities compatible?
I don't think they're compatible at all. I think that they're two opposing forces. I mean, as a director, you have to be completely in control of everything that's going on around you, and more than in control, aware of the things that are going on around you. And as an actor, if you're too aware of what's happening on the set, just outside the set, or with the financial weirdness of the film or whatever, then you're not in a proper position to do your job. And what was the other thing? I'm sorry, Brian.
How secure do you feel with the results? Is it the film that you wanted to make?
Yes, it is the film that I wanted to make. Working on the film, going to work as a director, as far as security there, I think it requires much more, at least for me, to go into this thing with the naive idea of writing, acting, and directing. That requires more insanity than it does security, I think. But no, with the finished film and with what I believe people take away from it, I'm very proud of it. I'm extremely proud of it. So I'm secure in that. Yeah.
Lovely response from Johnny again, and very honest. As I said at the beginning, Johnny has been very vocal throughout the years that he will never star and direct a movie again. And that is why he chose to not be in his latest movie that he directed called Modi. Johnny wrote it, directed it, and starred in it. And that takes a lot of energy. And of course, you will be feeling that you're lacking in at least one area if you're not 100% focused on what you're doing. Which is why he says, as an actor, he just focuses on his role. He doesn't think about the financing or what's going on with the crew. He's just focused on his job. Whereas as a director, you need to control and take care of everything. So I'm really glad that Johnny loved the outcome of this movie, because it is a fantastic film. I highly recommend everyone to watch if you haven't.
It is Marlon coming in and doing this film for me was an incredible blessing. I mean, it's beyond a dream. You know, it's outside of a dream. It's beyond. I think I was very fortunate not only to have him, but to have worked with him a couple of times, and to have maintained a friendship and a relationship with him, so that when we went to work together on The Brave, the process was very smooth and enjoyable. Most of the time we were cackling like children, laughing. And as far as directing Marlon Brando, I don't think anyone needs to direct Marlon Brando. I think you just turn the camera on and capture, you know, and take what you can take, you know, take what he'll give. And I think what he came in and did for me is above and beyond anything I'd ever expected, because he really dug inside. He really worked very hard, very, very hard. And I can't, I mean, he's been an incredible teacher, an incredible friend, guru, hero, you know.
Exactly what the question was. It was probably what he felt like directing Marlon Brando. The video that was uploaded sort of cut the question, but just a small history of Johnny Depp and Marlon Brando's beautiful collaborations and friendship. Johnny and Marlon first met when Johnny was cast as Jean de Marco, which came out in 1994. And Johnny Depp told the director, Jeremy Levin, that he would love if Marlon Brando could play his therapist in the movie. And at first he said it as a joke because he never thought that Marlon would even consider it, but he did. And the person that convinced him to do it was Johnny. Johnny said that that Marlon called him. They both spoke on the phone for hours, and they knew that they hit it off immediately. And then he just showed up the next day and said he was going to do the part. And it is a very good movie again. It also stars Faye Dunaway, who also previously worked with Johnny Depp. And so since they made Don Juan de Marco, they became very, very good friends, and they both loved pranking people on set. Marlon Brando, as Johnny said, is not a person that you direct, you just film. As I said, and many times in my videos, and one of my humble opinions is that Marlon Brando is the greatest actor of all time. So the fact that Johnny had the Marlon Brando in a movie that means so much to him, that he wrote, starred in, and directed, is a huge honor for him as an actor and as a director, because Marlon Brando also had said in many interviews in the 90s that Johnny Depp is the greatest actor of his generation, and that's why he really wanted to work with him. And then they hit it off as well through mutual experiences that they had during their childhood and how they were viewed as poster boys growing in the industry, and how they both really fought to not be viewed as an object, but more through their art.
Did he advise you in any way about the script? Was his coming back at the end his idea, yours?
As far as the script goes, there was a scene that was written that Marlon and I sat around my house one day and for a bunch of hours went through the scene and started discussing subtext and things like that. And then the next thing you know, we were rewriting the scene and rewrote the scene completely. So it almost doesn't resemble the other scene at all, and I believe the scene is much better. I believe it's more underneath the skin as opposed to being on top of the skin. So we rewrote the scene together, yeah. And him in the end was something that I didn't realize early on was necessary, but I think it's very necessary to see him waiting for his prey.
Director's gotten out of Brando since Bertolucci, really, because he was dredging up things that were visited with death so much in his personal life. That was brave of him to go to that place. It was brave of you to ask him to go to that place. And I wondered, how consciously detailed was that?
We knew where we had to go. We knew the boundaries. We knew basically what the scene had to be about. We knew that there had to be a certain amount of fuel in the scene to push the story along, for Raphael and the audience as well, to carry that weight with them for the rest of the film. So I agree. It was very brave of Marlon. Very, very brave. He's an angel, what can I say?
Marlon also is very well known for being a huge supporter for the Native American human rights, and has fought to take back territory, passed bills to be in their favor, and he was very vocal about his support. And of course, the famous Oscar moment where he won his second Academy Award for his brilliant performance in The Godfather, and he skipped the awards as they were not the most welcoming towards the portrayal of Native Americans in the movie industry, and he skipped the awards as a protest Native American stereotype that is previewed in the Hollywood industry as a whole. He received huge backlash, boycotted the Oscars. Instead of going to accept his award, he sent his good friend Sachin Littlefeather, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, to accept the award on his behalf and say that he respectfully to reject the award on his behalf because of the treatment of American Indians in the country and on television and movies. So I'm sure that this movie meant a lot to Marlon, just like it meant to Johnny. And that is why he put so much work into his role and rewriting the scenes and just building the movie and working on it and just being part of the movie and investing a lot of time and love into creating his character and performing one of the greatest performances he has ever made on screen. And Johnny captured it beautifully with his excellent directing skills. Again, I can't emphasize this movie enough. Not only is it a beautiful story, it highlights a lot of historical facts and it features two of the greatest actors of all time. Definitely a must watch.
Madame?
Adina Darian, New Cinema, Romania. Mr. Depp, I would like you, if you can develop for us the idea, when did you came first aware of this world? Was it through your personal experience, childhood, teenager, or through books? Or how come did you get aware of this world? And the second question is more technical. I know that in the American film industry...
Could we go one step at a time?
Okay.
Thank you.
I got a bad memory. That's terrible. So the first
question is,
See?
when did you get...
It's horrible.
It's fine. I have a bad memory
Who am
too.
I?
Thank you.
No, anything in your personal life, personal childhood that had you connect with this character and made you want to do it?
Through this world, you get
This
to know
world.
this world, or through books, or how come did you get aware of this world, that this world exists today in America?
I don't know. I've always been I've always been fascinated with things that are not allowed to be put on the surface. You know, I've always been fascinated with the things that happen in the places that many people don't go or not allowed to go. So as far as this world, for me, again, the story paralleled what happened to the Native Americans 100 and something years ago. Also, I'm kind of obsessed with the idea that in America we've rewritten history and we hail presidents, people like Andrew Jackson. We put him on the $20 bill and we look at his face every day. And the one thing they don't teach you in school is that Andrew Jackson was not a great president, not a great hero, not a great man. He was a murderer. He killed and committed a genocide on a great number of indigenous people. Murdered them, killed them. So in my opinion, you don't get taught that at any age in any school. No one teaches you that. That's something you have to dig around and find out. But he's not a hero. And there's a lot of people like him.
Again, Johnny gave one of the most raw answers and said everything so beautifully, starting off with how he was interested since he was a child and growing up with things that aren't really given a lot of light, and the truth, which till this day I believe is pretty obvious that Johnny still holds truth more important than anything, and how he's always wanted to discover things that weren't taught to him or told or spoken of in school and in his everyday life. Basically what you're spoon-fed, he wanted to know more than that and not just eat anything that he was spoon-fed. Also giving the example of Andrew Jackson, who is glorified, and he is responsible. He killed more than 30% of the Native American population in the Southeast. He occupied the territories, he committed a huge genocide, and he was the leading advocate of an Indian removal policy. That man is on the $20 bill, and that is not something that people are taught in the US, as Johnny said, just like the meaning of Thanksgiving, which is also a conversation I've had with many people from America about the meaning behind Thanksgiving. It's not just a turkey, there's an entire history behind it, which is actually not as bright and positive as some would think it is, or as it's portrayed in the movies, adverts. And as Johnny added, sadly, there's many politicians, even till that time, that were around the same, which were similar to Andrew Jackson, and they still get praised and viewed as heroes. That is sadly something that we do see today globally, not only in the US. We've watched genocides, we've seen occupations, and we've seen people dying, and many leaders throughout the years and even recently are glorified, which is scandalous, but sadly it still happens today. But hopefully we can rewrite history and make things right for all the natives of the lands that have been occupied, tortured and murdered in the name of money, oil and territory. I love Johnny's responses so far.
Was the audience or the potential audience a preoccupation for you when you wrote the script?
When we started?
No. I'm not that sophisticated. I can't think in those terms. I can't think of the result, what the result might be. I can't think of how many people might see the film, or how it will do at the box office. My only hope and my only desire, I guess, for the film was that people would feel something, that it would make them think, because I think a lot of films, most American movies, they don't want you to think, you know.
Right. Thank you.
They don't want you to.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I love Johnny's responses in this interview. He is a savage. He is raw. He's saying it exactly how he feels, not sugarcoating anything, just facts. Again, I love how he said he's not that sophisticated to think ahead of what audience he's going to attract, how well it's going to go in the box office, which is usually the pressures that are on the director to make a great movie that will sell, because that is what the investors and sponsors and producers want. But Johnny, again, as the artist that he has been all these years as an artist, he wanted to focus on the quality, on the story, and on the message that he gives to the audience. Whether that's 10 people, 100, 1 million, he will give all his love and effort and energy into creating a story that's going to pass a message. And just like he said in American movies, he wants his audience to watch the movie and make them think and want to learn more about American history, the Native American culture, and what happened, and just learn about the Native Americans and about life. And just like Johnny said, most American movies, they don't want you to think. And I absolutely agree. As a movie enthusiast, that is why I usually watch independent movies, because they have less censorship. They care less about how much money the movie's going to make and produce, and just focus more on the story, the message, and the quality of the movie.
Well, based on her question and on your response, when it became known that you wanted to direct, half of Hollywood went, I want to invest. And then they went, oh, is that what he wants to do? So was it
I think
easy?
they might have expected it at this point.
Was it, how did the production come together? Who pitched whom in order to put the financing together? How did that happen?
I came here to Cannes, which is why it's so nice to be here now, because the film has come full circle in a way. I came here to Cannes in '95, I believe it was, 2 years ago, when Kusturica won the Palme d'Or for Underground. That was when I met with Jeremy, and Charlie and Carol and I, we all got together and sort of put on our best dresses and our high heel shoes and went out and tried to show a little leg to see if we could get some money. And Jeremy was Jeremy responded. That's all.
We all remember
Jeremy,
that evening.
He could probably answer that better than I could.
Jeremy?
Yeah, there's a whole film.
Not for you, Bear. Sorry.
Jeremy?
Well, I've always chosen projects because, but due to my personal taste, which has sometimes been very punishing for me and sometimes has been very rewarding, I loved the script, and I was, very attracted to work with Johnny on the film. And it was quite difficult to raise the money. We raised the money entirely in Europe, and I'm very happy with the film, and I'm waiting for people to respond to the film as I have.
How much money did you have to raise, was the question.
It's a personal question.
Not much.
Less than $100 million.
It was under $10 million.
Charles, Carol?
Well under 10.
Do you have anything to add?
Sorry about that. Sorry about
I just
that.
said well under 10.
And I said,
No,
and I
Oh, these
apologize.
guys, you want to?
Very good replies from both Johnny and Jeremy about this question. And also is very insightful for everyone who is a film enthusiast like me and likes learning as well how a movie is created, how they get funding, and where you're supposed to sell your movie ideas. So as I've said in previous videos, I love the Cannes Film Festival because it is the birthplace of cinema, and it is actually where movies are celebrated for their worth, and that is where the biggest investors are. Johnny's movie in America would probably not get anywhere close of funding, mostly because of its nature and also the story. So the best idea was to go to Cannes Film Festival, and he sold his idea and the script. It was very good. Jeremy picked it up, and as he said, he found all the investors in Europe. For me, the European cinema is the rawest and most truthful, along with the Latin American cinema. But it's totally clear why, even till this day, Johnny has chosen to go and be part of the European independent cinema and not go back to Hollywood. In his upcoming movie, Modi, which is his second movie that he's directing since The Brave, he again went to the Cannes Film Festival for funding and to sell his script, and he managed to raise the full amount, and he has filmed the movie in Europe with European funding. Not sure if he has American funding on that one, but again, it is a European-based independent movie with the help of his good friend Al Pacino. And I feel also that Johnny has always appreciated the European cinema and its values compared to Hollywood. And even back then, back in the 90s, you can see that Johnny did not like Hollywood. He did not like what they stood for, what movies they were making, and how they wanted to portray him, which is why I believe he's so raw. And that's why Johnny always loves coming to Europe, and he spends most of his time in Europe and invests in a lot of movies with his company.
I'm curious if how you dealt with the idea that a snuff film is such an extreme metaphor, submitting to that kind of torture chamber, etc. It's a bizarre image, a bizarre metaphor.
Well, the most bizarre metaphor is money, really. I find that much more bizarre than the idea of someone selling themselves. People sell themselves every day, just in different ways, not maybe not necessarily to a snuff film. I'd say, yeah, that's slightly extreme, but we sell ourselves every day. I'm guilty of it. Probably a lot of us are guilty of it in some way. We want to. We got to put food on the table. We got to keep our jobs. We got to, that's part of it. As far as the snuff film aspect of the film, for me, I was doing my best to try to kill that serpent because I knew it would come up and bite me on the ass.
Your creativity.
Huh?
Bite you on your creativity.
Yeah, on my creativity. Yeah, sure. I wanted to play that down because if the film was just about a guy selling himself to a snuff film, then it would be, I think it would be making a film that was a little more sensationalistic, and I tried to kill that aspect. And there's only one reference to see in the movies, Tanto, in the film, and there's no other. There's nothing else about movies or anything. And I think, why doesn't it work? As far in parallel to what happened 100 years ago, Indians were, there were very subtle tactics as opposed to, just chopping people's heads off and cutting pregnant women open, which is what American soldiers did 100 or so years ago. They also infected blankets with disease and dispensed them to the indigenous peoples, and so no, I think the idea of selling your life is relevant. I also think that you have to remember he's selling his life and not his soul. I think they're two completely different things.
Ma'am?
I don't know if that works or not. But
Another very honest answer by Johnny about how everyone can sell themselves in one way or another for money, because sadly that is a society that we live in to survive. And also the brutality, comparing 100 years ago for the movie, how Native Americans were treated with scenes that he incorporated in the movie. He did an excellent job. Again, watch it and you'll understand. And I love Johnny's quote where he says, "You can sell your body, but not your soul." And that's what his character in the movie did. Great, great summary from Johnny, and the way that he spoke about how he filmed the most dramatic and raw scenes for the movie is just beautiful. This is one of the best interviews and most raw that I've seen Johnny. He seemed a bit annoyed by some of the questions because some of them were quite naive towards the bigger picture and message that he wants to give to the audience. For me, the movie is fantastic. I agree with the way Johnny spoke about and characterized the events that happened to Native Americans 100 years ago compared to how they are till this day. And sadly, they still are not being treated equally. But I absolutely love this interview. It is really a food for thought. It makes you want to learn more about many areas and topics, and also what makes you want to watch the movie. So if you do want to watch The Brave, please do. It is absolutely amazing. Loved seeing Johnny so raw and answer such personal but also political questions, which he doesn't really speak out about as much now. Please like, share and subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, I'm going to try and make more interview videos about Johnny and other stars, and I really hope you like this video. I'll see you on the next one. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Mango, and today I'm going to be watching the press conference for Johnny Depp's new movie, which premiered at Cannes and got an outstanding 7-minute standing ovation. So basically I wanted to do like a small sort of commentary reaction video. I haven't had the opportunity to watch the press conference because I was busy, but I'm going to watch it now with you guys. Now the entire press conference went on for 44 minutes. So I'm going to edit out all the questions I will ask to anyone else so that we can just focus on Johnny and his answers. Let's get started.
What was the feeling? Just very simply, what was the feeling after the screening yesterday and this standing ovation?
For a couple of seconds, it sort of scared me because it felt like we were stuck in a loop. You know, when we were standing and the applause and the reaction from the audience, just the energy of their reaction was, yeah, it just seemed to go. It just seemed to go on, and I was, yeah, you know, you become like a kind of a, because we're all sort of mommies and daddies of the film in a weird way. My Win, of course, this is her baby, but proud. I was very proud to see the comeuppance of the result of good work. I haven't seen the thing, but I know it's good because they said so. And I trust them.
All right, on va prendre une question.
Oui, bonjour, Benoît Berthelot.
I've noticed, I mean, we noticed it in the trial, we've noticed it in all his interviews, but Johnny has such a unique way with his words and the way he speaks and the way that he expresses himself is very unique.
And I'd like also to put a question to Johnny Depp.
Were you surprised to be chosen for this role, and how was it to shoot in French? Was it difficult for you?
Was I surprised? Yeah, I thought someone had there was a terrible misspelling somewhere. And then my Win and I ended up in the wrong room at the same time. I didn't feel any hesitation with regard to the character and all that. Or the language necessarily, I didn't find particularly intimidating. You know, a bit of a, you know, it's a bit like running through the raindrops. But my question to my Win when we first met was, maybe you want to try a French guy as King, you know, Louis, as Louis XV. She thought about it for a second. She said, I thought about that too. Nah, I want you to do it. So I thought it was very brave of her to choose some hillbilly from Kentucky to play Louis XV. Very brave. So yeah, I was instantly, I mean, up for it, wanted to do it. Just wanted to make sure that I wasn't, I don't know, stepping out of my box and into someone else's, you know, getting into other people's things, culture, thoughts, weirdness. But I'm glad she persisted, and I'm glad I persisted. And the experience of doing the film in French was, I wanted at least to be my pidgin French, at least I wanted it to be in some regard. I wanted to be able to improvise if necessary. So that was again, you know, you're way outside your language, your vernacular, and your way of expressing yourself. But yeah, it was. She was very patient with me. I'll put it that way.
All right, we have a question over there.
It's important to note for those who might have not heard or read it, that Johnny did hire a French tutor to teach him French before the movie and during, so that he could perfect the language and be able to improvise, as he just said. And I've heard that he got great reviews for his accent. So I guess he did a great job.
Mr. Depp, on your right,
Hi.
Anthony D'Alessandro from Deadline Hollywood. You had bravo on the film. You had mentioned in an interview in the Sunday Times back in 2021 that you felt boycotted by Hollywood. Do you still feel that? Do you feel that the tide is changing toward you doing major studio films again?
It's not my tide that we're discussing. Did I feel boycotted by Hollywood? Well, I mean, you'd have to not have a pulse to feel at that point, to feel like, no, none of this is happening. This is actually just a kind of a weird joke. You've been asleep for 35 years. So just let the weirdness commence. Of course, you know, I mean, when you're asked to resign from a film you're doing because of something that is merely a bunch of kind of vowels and consonants floating in the air, yeah, you feel a bit boycotted. Do I feel boycotted now? No, not at all. But I don't feel boycotted by Hollywood because I don't think about it. I don't think about Hollywood. I don't have much further need for Hollywood myself. I don't know how you guys feel, but yeah, I think it's a very strange, funny time where everybody would love to be able to be themselves, but they can't because they must fall in line with the person in front of them. You want to live that kind of life? I wish you the best. I'll be on the other side somewhere, you know.
That's such a good answer and so true because, first of all, Hollywood needs Johnny. Johnny doesn't need Hollywood. So even if they do still boycott him, it's their loss. He's doing better movies, independent movies in France, and now he's going to produce his own movie again. He already auctioned it in Cannes. That's where the greatest films are premiered, in my humble opinion, as a film enthusiast, whether it's the Venice Film Festival or the Cannes Film Festival. Those are where the best movies internationally take place. So whether or not you have a big blockbuster in Hollywood, for me, doesn't really mean anything. And I'm really glad that it means the same for Johnny, because he deserves much better roles instead of just being in a big blockbuster. I mean, he's already done that and he's done it excellently. And now I feel that he has found a way to be creative in his own way and independently, and he's enjoying it. And again, what he said, that everyone's trying to be themselves, but they can't because they have to fall in line with everything else, and what everyone else is telling them is such a true thing, especially in the industry, because you can't be yourself. Everyone in the industry is put into categories. They're going to try and promote this person, but it's not actually their personality, it's what they want you to portray so they could sell. So it's really what you need to just follow what managers, PRs, agents, everyone else is telling the artist what to do instead of just the artist being themselves, which we saw a clear example of Johnny when he was coming out and becoming the actor that he is. He went through all his own phases. He was original. He still is. He is himself unconventionally, and that is what a pure artist is. And I don't think that exists in Hollywood. I do see it in other countries, especially in Europe, where filmmaking is more raw and artists are allowed to be more creative and expressive, and they can actually be themselves and do what they want to do and be happy. So that is such a good point made by Johnny, and it's really good to be able to answer these questions, even though I don't think that it's suited, because you're at a press conference and it's for a movie and you've got the entire cast, directors and producers. You don't need to just focus on one actor's personal life. And talk about boycotting Hollywood, I mean, you're at Cannes promoting a French movie. That could be asked maybe in like another private or personal interview, but I feel at the Cannes Film Festival, it wasn't needed. But it's good that they asked because we got this lovely answer, and Johnny can leave with his head up high.
What happened now? What do I say now?
About the circus in Cannes.
I first came to Cannes, it was like 92 or something. I came to Cannes accidentally, to the festival accidentally with Emil Kusturica, and it was absolutely a circus like nothing I'd ever seen. It remains the same, and I think that's very good. Different faces, same actions, same everything. And so the circus part is the weirdest part, because it's sort of like you say, you know, folks out there want to, well, I mean, you believe what you believe. The truth is the truth, you know. As far as it being a positive or a negative to the film, all the sort of abstract whispers, you know, what all that does is it. Maybe people talk about the film in this way, or they will talk about your work in a certain way, up to a certain point. But the fact is, like, we're all here because we made a film, not because we have a product to sell, but we made a film. Everything that the majority of you who've been reading for the last 5 or 6 years have been reading, with regard to me and my life, the majority of what you've read is fantastically, horrifically written fiction. So the fact is, as I was saying, we're here to talk about a film, but, you know, it's like asking a question. How are you doing? But what's underneath in the subtext is, God, I hate you. Do you know what I mean? So that's the sort of media thing. But the focus should be simply on the fact that it's a miracle to get a film made that you care about in the first place. So you succeed there, you win right there. But to get a film like this made, and with the caliber of people and the vision of a absolutely, you know, a forward-moving artist, that's the focus. That should be the real focus. All the stuff that you can stuff your shoes with, you know, or line your parrot cage with. I mean, it's boring, isn't it? Are you guys sick of it by now? It's weird. $100,000 bird sings unrecorded Beatles songs. You'll get it later, I promise.
Again, another fantastic response from Johnny. Again, as I said, with the previous journalist, I mean, he asked a question about boycotting, which is obvious that, okay, you were boycotted because of the situation with Amber, and how do you feel coming back? Then you go right afterwards to the second journalist, and they ask again about the media and toxicity and Me Too movement, which is all one in a way. It's the same thing. It's out there. They know it. And as Johnny said, you know, it's just all hideous fiction that was been written. There's no need to even discuss this at a film festival as prestigious as Cannes. And as Johnny said, it's just a miracle that you can make a movie that you love so much as they do, and that they should focus on the movie. And he's being very polite with them, with the journalists, because he really just wants to talk about the movie that he really enjoyed making, that he is passionate about, and that's what he wants to discuss. But the ending where he said